Welcome back. I'm Cole Phillips, author of The Adventure of the Twisted Truths and host of The Book and Dagger. Today, we're going to be continuing where we left off in The Hobbit, Chapter 16, A Thief in the Night. Anyway, so we left off with Thorin shooting an arrow at the messenger of the Elven King, which of course made nobody happy, Bilbo least of all. And so the elves in the land of the lake are besieging the mountain. Now the days are passing slowly and wearily, and many of the dwarves spend their time piling and ordering the treasure. And now Thorin spoke with the Arkenstone of Thrain and bade them eagerly to look for it in every corner. For the Arkenstone of my father, he said, is worth more than a river of gold in itself, and to me it is beyond price. The stone of all the treasure I name unto that stone of all the treasure I name unto myself, and I will be avenged on anyone who finds it and withholds it. Bilbo heard these words, and he grew afraid, wondering what would happen. Because if you remember when he was, a couple chapters ago, when he was in the treasure hoard right after Smaug flew off to destroy the Men of the Lake, he found the Arkenstone. He picked it up and kept it because uh, at the time, he thought, well, he's like, I'll take this as my 14th share if I take nothing else. So he's very worried that I'm wondering what would happen if the stone is found wrapped in an old bundle of tattered oddments that he used as a pillow. All the same, he did not speak of it, for as the weariness of the days grew heavier, the beginnings of a plan had come into his little head. Things had gone on like this for some time when the ravens brought news that Dane and more than 500 dwarves hurrying from the Iron Hills were now within about 2 days' march of Dale, coming from the northeast. But they cannot reach the mountain unmarked, said Roic, and I fear lest there be a battle in the valley. I do not call this counsel good. Though they are a grim folk, they are not likely to overcome the host that besets you. And even if they did so, what will you gain? Winter and snow is hastening behind them. How shall you be fed without the friendship and goodwill of the lands about you? The treasure is likely to be your death, though the dragon is no more. But Thorin was not moved. Winter and snow will bite both men and elves, he said, and they may find their dwellings in the waste grievous to bear. With my friends behind them and winter upon them, they will perhaps be in a softer mood to parley with. That night, Bilbo made up his mind, and he drew from his bundle. He takes a rope and the Arkenstone wrapped in a rag, and he climbs to the top of the lookout wall. Only Bomber was there, for it was his turn to watch, and the dwarves kept only one watchman at a time. And Bomber is complaining about the cold and wishing they could have a fire up there. And Bilbo says it was warm enough inside, and Bomber says, I dare say, but I am bound here till midnight. A sorry business altogether. Not that I venture to disagree with Thorin. May his beard grow ever longer, yet he was ever a dwarf with a stiff neck. Not as stiff as my legs, said Bilbo. I am tired of stairs and stone passages. I would give a good deal for the feel of grass at my toes. I would give a good deal for the feel of a strong drink in my throat and for a soft bed after a good supper. I can't give you those while the siege is going on, but it is long since I watched, and I will take your turn for you if you like. There is no sleep in me tonight. You are a good fellow, Mr. Baggins, and I will take your offer kindly. If there should be anything to note, rouse me first, mind you. I will lie in the inner chamber to the left, not far away. Off you go, said Bilbo. I will wake you at midnight, and you can wake the next watchman. As soon as Bomber had gone, Bilbo put on his ring, fastened his rope, slipped down over the wall, and was gone. He had about 5 hours before him. Bomber would sleep. He could sleep at any time, and ever since the adventure in the forest, he was always trying to recapture the beautiful dreams he had had then. And all the others were busy with Thorin. It was unlikely that any, even Filia or Killy, would come out on the wall until it was their turn. It was very dark, and the road after a while, when he left the newly made path and climbed down towards the lower course of the stream, was strange to him. At last he came to the bend where he had to cross the river. Anyway, so he crosses the river, and he's very cold and slivering. He's making splashing, and some elves come up with lanterns and search for the cause of the noise. They say, that was no fish, that was a spy. Hide your lights. They will help him more than us, if it is that queer little creature that is said to be their servant. Servant indeed, snorted Bilbo. In the middle of his snort, he sneezed loudly. The elves gathered immediately towards the sound. Let's have a light, he said. I am here if you want me. And he slipped off his ring and popped from behind a rock. They seize him quickly, and they begin asking questions. They're like, how did you get past our sentries? Are you the dwarf's Hobbit? He says, I am Mr. Bilbo Baggins, companion of Thorin, if you want to know. I know your king well by sight, though perhaps he doesn't know me to look at. But Bard will remember me, and his Bard I particularly want to see. Indeed, said they, and what may be your business? Whatever it is, it's my own, my good elves. But if you wish ever to go back to your own woods from this cold, cheerless place, you will take me along quick to a fire where I can dry, and then you will let me speak to your chiefs as quick as may be. I have only an hour or two to spare. Anyway, so it comes about that Bilbo is sitting before a warm fire in front of a large tent, and there too are both the Elven King and Bard, and they're gazing quite curiously because a hobbit in elvish armor, partly wrapped in an old blanket, was something new to them. Bilbo says, really, things are impossible. Personally, I'm tired of the whole affair. I wish I was back in the West in my own home where folk are more reasonable. But I have an interest in this matter, 1/14th share to be precise, according to a letter, which fortunately I believe I have kept. He drew from his pocket he drew from a pocket his old jacket, which he still wore over his mail, crumpled and much folded Thorin's letter, which had been put under the clock on his mantelpiece in May. I share in the profits, mind you, he went on. I am aware of that. Personally, I am too ready to consider all your claims carefully and deduct what is right from the total before putting in my own claim. However, you don't know Thorin Oakenshield as well as I do now. I assure you he is quite ready to sit on a heap of gold and starve as long as you sit here. Well, let him, said Bard. Such a fool deserves to starve. Quite so, said Bilbo. I see your point of view. At the same time, winter is coming on fast. Before long, you'll be having snow and whatnot, and supplies will be difficult, even for elves, I imagine. Also, there will be other difficulties. You have not heard of Dane and the dwarves of the Iron Hills? We have, a long time ago, but what has he got to do with us? Asked the king. I thought as much, said Bilbo. You see, Bilbo then tells them that Dane and at least 500 grim dwarves with him which have many experience in the dreadful dwarf and goblin wars, are coming, and when they arrive, there may be serious trouble. Bard asks, why did you tell us this? Are you betraying your friends, or are you threatening us? And Bilbo squeaks, my dear Bard, don't be so hasty. I never met such suspicious folk. I am merely trying to avoid trouble for all concerned. Now I will make you an offer. Let us hear it, they said. You may see it, he said. It is this, and he drew forth the Arkenstone and threw away the wrapping. The Elven King himself, whose eyes were used to things of wonder and beauty, stood up in amazement. Even Bard stood marveling in silence. Bilbo says this is the Arkenstone of Thrain, the heart of the mountain, and is also the heart of Thorin. He values it above a river of gold. I will give it to you. It will aid you in your bargaining. And he gives it to Bard. And Bard asks, how is this yours to give? And Bilbo says, oh, well, it isn't exactly, but, well, I'm willing to let it stand against my claim, don't you know? I may be a burglar, or so they say. Personally, I never really felt like one, but I'm an honest one, I hope, more or less. Anyway, I'm going back down. The dwarves can do what they like to me. I hope you will find it useful. The Elven King looked at Bilbo with a new wonder. Bilbo Baggins, he said, you are more worthy to wear the armor of elf princes than many that have looked more calmly in it. But I wonder if Thorin Oakenshield will see it so. I have more knowledge of dwarves in general than you have, perhaps. I advise you to remain with us, and here you shall be honored and thrice welcome. Thank you very much, I'm sure, said Bilbo with a bow, but I don't think I ought to leave my friends like this, after all we have gone through together. And I promised to wake old Bomber at midnight, too. Really, I must be going, and quickly. Nothing they could say would stop him, so an escort was provided for him, and as he went, both the king and Bard saluted him with honor. As they passed through the camp, an old man, wrapped in a dark cloak, rose from a tent door where he was sitting and came towards them. Well done, Mr. Baggins, he said, clapping Bilbo on the back. There's always more about you than anyone expects. It was Gandalf. Of course it was. Anyway, and for the first time in many days, Bilbo was really delighted, but there was no time for all the questions that he immediately wished to ask. All in good time, said Gandalf. Things are drawing toward the end now, unless I am much mistaken. There's an unpleasant time just in front of you, but keep your heart up. You may come through all right. There is news brewing that even the ravens have not heard. Good night. Puzzled but cheered, Bilbo hurried on. He was guided to a safe ford and set across dry, and then he said farewell to the elves and climbed carefully back towards the gate. Great weariness began to come over him. It was well before midnight when he clambered up the rope again, and it was so where he had left it. Anyway, so he untied it and hid it, and then at midnight he woke up Bomber and rolled himself into his corner without listening to the old dwarf's thanks, which he felt he had hardly earned. He was soon fast asleep, forgetting his worries till the morning. As a matter of fact, he was dreaming of eggs and bacon, which is a very good thing to be dreaming of. And we will leave off there, and next we will be reading chapter 17, The Clouds Burst, which is one of the most exciting chapters in the whole book, so be sure to come around for that.